Well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Natalie, do you want to kick anything off here, or do you just want me to jump right in?
Well, I'll just say thank you very much to Laura for presenting the HP presentation to all of our clients and potential clients. And I'll just hand it off to you, Laura.
Great. Well, thank you for being here. My name is Laura Brady. I am a technical consultant here at HP. I'm going to take you through what's going on at HP as it relates to print security on our HP printer devices. Feel free if you have any questions, you can put them in the Q&A or chat, or feel free to just ask me any questions throughout. I'll pause periodically to see if there are any questions. Okay. All right. So basically, your business can thrive everywhere if your endpoints are secure. And this is really something that we focus on at HP, not only on the PC side, but the print side. Everything that's on a network needs to be treated as common citizens on the network and should have the same amount of protections on the network. So you just want to make sure that those endpoints are secure because cyber threats continue to evolve. The attacks are more frequent. Ransomware volume for 2022, it every year it increases by more and more and more above 2018, 19, and 2020. They're becoming more sophisticated. Ransomware damage predicted costs to exceed 265 billion by 2031. And when we say more sophisticated, with the advent of artificial intelligence or AI that we all hear about, there are actually AI attacks as a service that can be bought on the dark web. So think about that. How now AI is actually helping the bad guys get more sophisticated. So what does that mean? Our technology that is on our networks needs to be more sophisticated. And then the threats are also more diverse. They're going after the cloud and supply chain. PC's obvious attack vector, but you also think of printers, firmware, servers, identity, and networks. So it's pretty pervasive out there in the world. The threats are growing rapidly and becoming more severe. You hear about breaches all the time. There was one over the weekend I was reading about that happened to a healthcare insurance provider. My insurance provider actually was breached last year, and the ramifications of that are, I had to put security on my own personal credit files and things like that because somehow the threats are getting into companies, and we need to figure out ways that we can thwart them. So here at HP, we have customers that have come to us. The four next slides are actually use cases that we have put together as a result of our customers coming to us with certain security challenges and how we should address them. So the next four slides, I'm just going to kind of take you through that. So this is a cybersecurity auditor came into a telecom company. Their headquarters is in the European Union, but they have over 5,000 of our printers. So the security auditor came in, and for the first time, the cybersecurity auditor, and this is for people who buy cybersecurity insurance, which most companies are starting more and more to actually add policies for. The audit for the first time included network printers and MFPs. And the company failed the audit. And the reason why the company failed the audit was because of the printers had the risk of what's called a man in the middle attack. So what that means is that the network itself could not identify that the device at the end of an IP address was actually a printer or an MFP. When we're going into these zero trust networks that everybody's kind of moving towards, the printers were not identifying themselves. And the way you can actually kind of prove this to a customer is by taking this little computer that's shown up here on the screen called the Raspberry Pi, if anybody's ever heard of it, and actually attaching it to the port of the MFP and actually proving that someone could actually capture the print stream that somebody is sending down to the printer just with this little device. Now, this is a physical device. It's not necessarily going to be a threat in most offices, but it's basically proving the point that the devices themselves can be quote unquote spoofed on the network with this man in the middle attack. So it basically showed lack of any print security that the customer had. So the way we were able to help the customer get to where their cybersecurity audit and the printers and MFPs would pass is an implementation of something, a piece of software that we have called HP Security Manager that will show instant compliance of all security requirements and actually creates a certificate. So the printer is actually talking to the network and announcing itself in a very secure fashion that it is a printer or an MFP. So that is one way that we've been able to do that with a piece of software that you can acquire from American Lazer. So for companies that are in these compliance industries, it's a great piece of software to really help with that print security compliance factor. And you can run reports. This is an example of one of the reports. So another customer came to us and said it was a retail customer, and they required end-to-end encryption for print jobs. This was an area where the customer had workstations and printers set about their environment, and they were afraid that people could intercept that print job and wanted to be able to ensure that the print job from the time it was at the desktop PC and arrived down at the printer, that communication was encrypted. And the proposed encryption options that were there were issues trying to use Windows administration to do it. So what we were able to come up with is in our print driver, and this is part of, if you bought an HP device today, you get access to our universal print driver. And we implemented a drop down where you can secure normal jobs inside of your print driver so that you are basically encrypting that print job from the desktop, sent down the line to the printer, fully encrypted, and then the printer will decrypt the print job. So this was a end user zero touch, something that we offer in our products today and allow for the encryption of jobs using a personal key where the UPD encrypts it and then decrypts the jobs. So again, able to help our customers out with this type of technology already built into our print driver. Here's another challenge. A company came to us and said, we have all these remote users, and obviously COVID sent a lot of people into their homes for work, and there is still somewhat of a hybrid workforce that is out there. And this particular company really, in the industry that they were in, really wanted the capability to lock everything down. And the control of that, they felt kind of goes out the window when people are at home using their home routers, which don't have the same commercial grade protections as some of the consumer grade routers that we all use in our home offices. So the challenge was they were thinking of, here are users, they have these locked down PCs we want to send them a printer, but they've basically locked out the USB ports. They've locked everything out so that it made it really difficult for the customers working at home to be able to use a peripheral. So one of the things they were looking to do is outfit everyone who's working from home with this Meraki commercial grade Cisco router in everybody's home to basically make that connection secure, and so they could actually communicate with the home office via this secure router. Well, in order to do that, the investment would be about $3,000 per user, which would have made an investment of this company of $602,000. So it would have been a very hefty investment to do that. So they came to us, asked us, how can HP help us with this challenge, because we want to use, your printers in our home offices. So basically, in our devices now, we have an embedded VPN, or virtual private network, that customers can basically enable inside of the VPN, that basically allows that printer sitting in a home office to connect to the VPN inside the company along with their laptop. So it's basically the administration of the devices, or if the devices were actually sitting within the four walls of the company and not sitting in someone's home office in the basement like I am here at my home office. So the customer avoided having to purchase these really expensive commercial grade routers. And then along with having the capability built into these enterprise devices, they could just have a nice color printer in their home office that connects to their network. And then the last customer actually didn't come to us until they figured out that their HP devices started acting interesting on the network. So a little later on in the presentation, I'm going to talk about what makes HP printers kind of different from the rest of the market in terms of the security that we embed on our devices. But this financial services customer, they're all of a sudden, a lot of their devices began generating security alerts. And this is what it looks like when your printer is having a security alert. So it's going to flash up a security message saying the system has a potential issue. It's going to shut itself down and reboot into from a golden copy of the BIOS. It would look like this, is what the security alert eventually looks like. So it's going to reboot, and then you're going to have to restart your device. Our devices, the enterprise devices that American Lazer sells, has embedded runtime intrusion detection. So you can think about that as kind of like antivirus, anti-malware for your printer. So it's going to detect as an early warning system that something could be infected inside your network. So the printer in this case actually, they were on a VLAN, so they were kind of segmented from the rest of the network, but they were generating these security alerts and alerted IT that there was an infection that was found, introduced by malware on a USB drive by a contractor that came in to do some work inside of their data center, and inadvertently infected with an infected drive their print server. And our devices were actually able to detect this threat, which is one of the real key differentiators of HP when it comes to security. So it allowed the customer to proactively isolate and mitigate the malware blast radius. So it didn't really move beyond the VLAN, but it alerted that, hey, there's malware running around our network. Luckily, it didn't go any further, but just the power of the technology that we built into our devices that you buy from American Lazer when you buy the enterprise devices. So we're adapting more and more for evolving security threats. We've been doing this for decades. This is not something that HP just started. We started looking at this, particularly as we've been hardening our PC technology that we manufacture and developed by HP Labs, and we have year by year by year increased that security all the way up to um, 2024, and now 2025. We're actually going to be putting quantum computing resistant chips into our printers and MFPs. The guidance from the federal government is going to be that any technology that is going to be sold to the federal government within the next 5 years or so is going to need to have resistance against quantum computing hacks, which is a brute force hack. So we're actually this year announcing for the first time in 2025 that we will have devices that will have these quantum resistant chips in our devices on top of all the other security that I'm going to go through. But just so you know, this is not something that we've decided, overnight we're going to add to our devices. We built our devices from the ground up with over 20 years of security innovation, and industry standards guidance, like the government saying they're going to want the quantum resistance coming up. So it's something that is in our DNA. It's something that we continue to practice and lead out on. So we built our devices based on zero trust principles, which is a core set of principles in the design and operation of systems and security. Basically, it's all hardware enforced inside of the devices. So you buy an enterprise device, nothing more you need to buy or add on, because it's designed with firmware and software self-healing built in, with layers of protection, which is really key for someone who's trying to get into your endpoint, not to just have one lock on the front door, but have several layers of protection that they need to get through. And then obviously advanced security with remote control of hardware security policies. Some of that you can do with the HP Security Manager software I mentioned a little bit ago. If cybercrime were an economy, by this year, the cost of cybercrime globally is predicted to hit $10.5 trillion. That would put it at number 3 of the largest economies in the world, behind the US and China. So just an idea of how big cybercrime is. So we're continually wanting to protect and thwart against that. So HP really helps protect your devices from cyber attacks. So you can print with confidence, print with trust, be secure at the core, and navigate risks resiliently with the world's most secure printers designed for the resiliency against the attacks of tomorrow. It's in our DNA. I mentioned this 20 plus years of security innovation, but all the industry standards that we adhere to. So just to go into why a printer is actually a pretty powerful endpoint. A PC really does a multitude of functions. However, it's a printer and MFP is actually even more susceptible, if you will, because it's kind of a computer that can print, copy, scan, and fax with a lot more ways that you can get into them. So think about the hardware, the printing supplies. I've got a little video coming up that shows with remanufactured supplies how that could be a threat. Obviously, it connects to the network with network access, firmware and software that gets loaded into the device, and then connection to the internet and email servers. So here are the common vulnerability points. Obviously, as things are being scanned. Are they being scanned outside your domain? Something to think about. You have the ability to lock down where people's emails can be sent to. If someone's disgruntled with the company, you don't want them scanning sensitive documents and sending them outside your domain. So, one place to think about. Output tray is HR or any other department in the company actually printing sensitive documents, perhaps gets interrupted, doesn't get to the output tray in time, and they're being left here. One of the ways you can do that is actually do a release so that you can make sure that people can only release their own documents and stand by the printer as the printer's outputting. So there are some software solutions that allow you to do that. Storage media, is it encrypted? Are your hard drives encrypted? All of ours are. And sometimes in the federal government, they call for a FIPS 140 standard. Our drives meet that criteria. Obviously, managing the devices, that security manager software I talked about, could be something that you can use to help the management of your devices. Do they connect to the cloud? Are you looking to scan to OneDrive, SharePoint, some of the other cloud-based? And is that connection secure? Same with mobile printing. Are you locking down things like AirPrint, or are you allowing it? Can anybody print on your network? Those are things to consider. The control panel itself can be vulnerable to an attack. I'll show you that in the supplies video I have coming up. Is the BIOS and firmware that's in the device, is it digitally signed? Is it real? Is that capability only allowing to use digitally signed firmware, software, and solutions? Ports and protocols. How are the USB ports on your printers and MFPs handled? Are they locked down? Certainly an area for consideration. I'll show you supplies in a minute. And then valuable media in trays. So in healthcare, banking, are there checks? Is there prescription paper, things that is valuable to somebody if it got in the wrong hands? You have the capability of on some of our devices using locking trays so that people don't have access to that media, can't print to that media, can't get access to that media. So we've put a lot of protection on the device. I've talked about a bunch of these, but considerations for you to reduce risk, improve your compliance, and protect your network from end to end. The built-in encryption, secure erase features for taking that sensitive information off of hard drives, secure disposal at end of devices, disabling ports and protocols you're not using, only giving administrative access on device settings, the certification for compliance within different international standards, embedded security features for attack detection and prevention, automatically recover and threat notifications, like I showed you in that video, for enterprise and managed devices. Enter investment protection through HP Future Smart Firmware, which basically means any security vulnerability that we become made aware of, we will immediately introduce new firmware for you to upgrade. Along with that, sometimes with this investment protections comes new features, and then our cartridges that contain a microcontroller chip with proprietary firmware. So here are some of the things that we offer on top of our inside of our devices that allow you to really have the most secure printers and MFPs on the market. I've talked through a few of these with the runtime intrusion detection. It's called HP Memory Shield. So like I said, that's like that antivirus, malware detector for your printer. So not just when it's booting up, but when your device is in runtime or sleeping, it's going to detect anything that doesn't look like a print job coming through to it. If it detects that, like it did on that little video I showed you, it's going to shut itself down and put itself into what's called HP Sure Start mode. And what this is going to do is start itself back up from a golden copy of the BIOS and bring it back to the state it was prior to finding the malware in there. So it's not going to quote unquote brick your devices. It will actually bring yourself back to that steady state. We also have Connection Inspector. So Connection Inspector is looking at outbound connections. So you don't wake up tomorrow, come in and see your devices communicating to an IP address in Russia or, North Korea or somewhere else where your devices shouldn't be. If that connection is detected, again, it's going to put itself back into the sure start mode, reboot from a golden copy of the BIOS and bring it back. And these are all developed out in Palo Alto with an HP lab. So this is our own proprietary technology. And then validating anything that gets actually put on the device. So allow listing of HP firmware or third-party code, things like PaperCut or any kind of software or app that you might want to put on the device has to be validated by HP first. So anything that we sell or brand obviously has been validated, but that goes with our third-party developers who develop software and firmware for our devices. So this is all in the box, guys. Want you to know that if you buy an HP Enterprise product, this is all in the box to allow you to protect, detect, and recover with ongoing detections there. And then this piece of software, Security Manager, would lay on top. So Memory Shield, Connection Inspector, Allow Listing, and Sure Start, and the Quantum chip that's coming, all part of the hardware. Nothing you have to buy additional. If you wanted to have a policy-based compliance tool for the configuration settings or for certificate management, that's where HP Security Manager would be another option you could purchase. So I've gone into some of these protection from firmware attacks. So I talked about Sure Start. Ensures that only trusted firmware is executed when it goes into that Sure Start mode. Active system monitoring, so that's HP Memory Shield, like I said, with the runtime intrusion detection. So making sure that memory-based attacks exploiting the device can't happen. That's basically, a device sitting there in the corner, knows what a print job looks like. When malware comes down the line, whether it's attached to maybe an HR department, receives a resume, someone trying to be nefarious, sends a PDF, but inside the PDF actually embeds malware inside the print stream. So when it gets sent to the printer, our printer is going to know that's not a typical print job. That's a problem. And it's going to send up the security error message and then shut itself down, clear it out, and then reboot from a golden copy of the BIOS. It's we've got the autonomous threat mitigation, like I said, with Connection Inspector. So it's particularly looking at proactively identifying that outbound call, a ransomware call, anything where your printer should not be acting that way. And then some of the other security capabilities that you have available to you. In fact, I've done this with the team there at American Lazer, where we can actually take a export from your data collection agent and actually pull it into an assessment tool to actually show that there are devices on your network that could have known security bulletins on there. So those are known security bulletins that can be upgraded this 6 with a firmware upgrade. This is actually showing that 17 of them the devices are so old, they actually have a security bulletin on them and can't be upgraded, so they would need to be replaced. So this is something American Lazer can offer and give you an understanding of your environment today, and then what we can do to help mitigate the issues. And it'll actually link out to the different vulnerabilities over here and tell you the severity, what the CVSS score is on each one of them. If you clicked on that link, it would take you out to the actual vulnerability. HP runs a bug bounty every year, so we're continually have people that are trying to break into our devices in many different ways. And if a bug is found, we will fix it and we will pay the $10,000 bug bounty. So some of these security bulletins that we know about happen because direct correlation to our bug bounty that we advertise to kind of white hat hackers out there. Secure by default. So we actually, our devices, when they come to you, they have over 250 settings that can be set in terms of ports and protocols, and what we believe are the most important security standards. So the device that you receive from American Lazer will have these settings already set. Now you can uncheck them if you needed a certain protocol or port opened or a certain feature. However, we have secure by default that basically ships in each of our devices to help with plugging our devices into the system pretty seamlessly. And then on top of that, would be using something like HP Security Manager to actually help automate a printer policy so that could be pushed out to the entire fleet with the passwords, the protocols, the ports that should be open and closed, and then also offer the certificate management I talked about earlier. From a supply standpoint, with multiple ways of people getting toner, there are a lot of ways that companies can be exploited if they're not using secure supplies. I'm actually going to show you a video that will show what can happen by using a third-party supplies. The way our printers are designed, they're to help you reduce risk, the improved compliance, and protect your network from end to end. So that's why we're even focusing on the toner cartridges. They're protected from an HP original chip that is actually using smart card technology, which is the same technology that's used on your credit cards. So, very secure, tamper-resistant chip. So it ensures that when you're using HP products and using HP supplies, they're married together so that security is all the way around the device. So here's the video I mentioned. This is actually out on YouTube. So you can go ahead and watch it after I'm done here speaking if you wanted to see it again. But I'm going to go ahead and send it, although I'm just thinking, am I sharing sound? And I was not, so that is key. So here we go.
Hackers don't always look like creepy, dark figures wearing hoodies and bashing away at lines of code. Most of the time, they look like you. Or me. But this time, you got lucky. I'm a white hat. Companies like HP hire people like us to hunt down vulnerabilities and eliminate them before they become a threat. My specialty? Infiltrating businesses, infecting their networks, getting into systems in ways that no one would expect. You see this little chip? Most office print cartridges have one. The difference is these third-party cartridge chips have a weakness. They're reprogrammable, not secure, and exactly the kind of in that I look for. Very few people realize inserting one of these into a printer is exactly the same as inserting an unknown USB drive into a PC. I inject a few lines of code here, a little malware there, and voila. Before you know it, I have access and control of your printer. Your classified documents, your whole network. Big consequences from such a tiny chip. Now, this original HP cartridge, it's got a unique tamper-resistant microchip with smart card technology and security-hardened firmware. So no matter how hard I try to get in, it is protected against modification to its code. It's like a barricade, shielding you from an attack from people like me. And believe me, I've tried. Look, your security is only as strong as your weakest link, and I'll find it. What? Sometimes my ears get cold.
So probably something you've never thought about before is, are my printer cartridges secure? But she said a couple of things in that video just to drive home that using toner cartridges from an unknown source that is not, part of the HP OEM cartridges, you don't know where that chip's been. You don't know if someone has tried to hack into that chip, and inserting it into your printer is the same threat as putting in an unknown USB drive into your computer, which no one would do that. So think about that in the same vein. And then she talked about how our chips are that smart card technology, which is what are used in credit cards, so that they are tamper resistant chips that we are putting in our devices that are protected in a supply chain, so that you can rest assured that no one is going to infiltrate your network through your toner cartridges from HP. The last slide I'm just going to show here is just the existing lineup of devices that I'm talking about. So this is what's called our managed lineup. These are the enterprise devices that American Lazer can sell to you, that has all the technology that I talked about built in as a hardware device. And we go anywhere from a 28 page per minute sit on your desk color printer, all the way up to a 70 page per minute color MFP. And then we have black and white versions of the same. So that's basically, the whole line, everything that we offer through American Lazer to offer you the best secure printers on the market that you can buy. So that's pretty much the presentation. I am free to answer any questions anyone might have.
I didn't see any come through. That video was pretty scary.
It's pretty eye-opening. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
All right. Well, I don't see any questions. So
Okay.
Thank you so much, Laura. This was super eye-opening. To anyone who's watching, we will have the video, and we'll post that to our social media pages in a few days. Awesome. All right.
Awesome.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right. I'll see you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.